Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of Empowerment. This is an ongoing series that Katie and myself are working on. And in case you missed the first episode or you're not familiar, the goal of empowerment is to give a platform to issues or groups that don't necessarily get that platform in everyday life. That can come in many different looks. And in today's episode, it's talking about common issues that women go through in society. So, at this point, I will now allow each of the women that have joined me today to introduce themselves.
I'll go first. I'm Katie.
I'm Allison.
Hi, Maddie.
I'm Bella.
I'm Laura.
All right, so just kind of an insight onto how this may look. Um, if you watch the first, or if you listen to the first episode, you probably noticed that I had a lot of commentary and I had a lot of input, but that's because the issues that we were talking about directly related to my group. We were talking about men's issues, so I felt like it was my place to talk. However, this episode, um, there's not a need for me to give my input on these thoughts because these are things that women have to go through every day. And I cannot pretend to relate to them because I can't. I'm a man. I don't have to go through these things, which that's not like a brag. It's awful. It shouldn't be like that. But this is a platform for the women to speak up. So all I'm going to do is introduce the topic and then turn the floor over and allow these women to give their input. So the first topic are just social norms that have been accepted due to misogyny that's just kind of been deep rooted into society. Um, this can look like women having to gear up to do everyday tasks such as walking to their car or getting gas. Women having to plan their outfits so they won't get blamed for being sexually harassed or assaulted. Um, Mansplaining, etc. So, ladies, the floor is yours.
All right. When we talk about deep-rooted misogyny, the first thing that always pops into my head is classrooms. Like as a kid, the idea of like the girls play with the kitchen set and the girls play house and the girls do all this stuff and then like the guys are the firefighters and the guys are the police officers and like that kind of stuff. And it's like you're trained, you don't realize it, but you're like trained in this way of like becoming a housewife kind of thing. And then it's like I always make the example of like picking up stuff. Like I need three boys to pick this up. And that used to make me so mad. I'd be like, I can pick it up. I am just as strong as him. I am just as strong as him.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I feel like I still experience that to this day because I've tweeted about it a few times, but like at work, we have like these huge trash cans, right? And they have to be taken out sometimes. And sometimes nobody will really take them out, so whatever, I got it. I've done it multiple times, I'll do it. But I'll have coworkers be like, "Are you sure you got that?" I'm like, I do it every time I work. Like, yes, I got it.
Okay.
Um, like I can lift over my head. I think I'm okay. And I had one coworker like literally rip it out of my hand and he took it out. And then when he came back in, I was like, whatever, it's fine. I don't care. He took it out for me. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But he came back and he said, I don't think you would have been able to lift it anyway. Even though he took it out of my hands mid-air. I was like,
All right.
Uh,
okay.
I kind of relate to that too because most of the people at my work are girls, and but we only have one male coworker. We had a couple, but then they kept quitting, so we just have this one guy, and he's just been there. Love him, but we get like truck every Wednesdays, and so like we get a lot of heavy boxes like full of cups and like stuff to put in the coffee, and we have to always like lift it on the shelves. And somehow I'm always working when truck comes, but it's gotten to such a routine now that like I know where everything goes. But like he always ends up showing up, and he is always like, "You have that, you got it," and I appreciate the concern. But then it gets to a point whenever they push it so much, like, "Are you sure you can do it?" And there's been a couple of times where I had like just gotten my nails done or something. He's like, "Did you break your nail? You don't want to break your nail. Maybe you should let me lift that." And I'm like, "Do you like?" I'll tell him like, "Do you understand how kind of degrading that sounds whenever you tell that to me?" And I was like, "Also, I get this done in 15 minutes, so I think I can handle it." And I just think that's so dumb that you know, men are always labeled the strong ones, and like women don't are like not in that equation for some reason.
Yeah, like, okay, there's one example I have. One time I was with my boyfriend and his dad, and his dad is always like the type to be like, "Oh, we have to go help somebody do this, like move or whatever." And there was one friend he had, and he was like, "Okay, Katie and Nolan, you come with us. We're gonna help move some like bedroom set or whatever for a friend." I was like, "Okay, like I can help, no big deal." And then we get there, and it's not like we're helping like guys move. It's like two women we're helping, and so the bedroom suit, like not heavy at all. So like I go to get this headboard and this lady looks at me, she goes, just sit back and look pretty. Let the men do it. I was like, she literally said that. I was like, okay. But as soon as she went inside, I grabbed the whole headboard and I took it in by
Look pretty or like for to be told that, but it's weird to me that people just don't realize that things are changing and like you can change your mindset. And I feel like that like you were saying, Allison, that has to start in schools too, and that has to start at home. Like we have to start teaching each other that, like, women don't always have to stay in the kitchen, they don't have to be the ones having the babies, raising the babies, like kind of stuff. Like women are their own people, they can choose what they want to do.
yeah, it's not all we're good for, sitting back and looking pretty. Like there's so much more we could do. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
And we can still look pretty while doing it. I don't have to sit
Oh
back and
yeah.
look pretty. God.
Oh, and also, I guess to go on a different topic, but like, or I guess stay on this topic, but in a different section. I know Austin was saying something about like gearing up, about like, having to dress appropriately and like quotation marks and like walking to our cars. And it was really interesting the other day. I visited my friends at work and we ended up sitting outside of work for, till like 1 o'clock in the morning talking. And it was very interesting to me because we were talking about, things like walking to our car at night or pumping gas at night or pumping gas in the day too.
Yeah.
And we talked about a lot of things that we've experienced, either being alone or like walking in a store and stuff like that. And it's sad to me how common it is, just how it's an everyday thing. I feel like for a lot of women, it's weird to me because, I'd be like, oh, one time I was 16, I was, fresh getting my driver's license and I went to pump gas with myself, first time ever. And I, like, it was somewhere in Auburn town. And I had this guy like cat call me and it was weird because I was like, I haven't had tension like that before. And then two, I was just like, I'm alone at this really sketchy gas station by myself. And like this random guy's, talking to me. And so now every time I go pump gas, like, I don't know. I know it sounds weird, but like I am a little nervous every time I'm by myself anywhere, especially like at a store. And I think it's just sad that that's just normal for us to be like, okay, we can do it. We can get out the car. We can be by ourselves out here. You
Like
know,
you're 360, you're like,
yeah, we shouldn't have to hype ourselves up every time we have to step outside of our house, out of our comfort zones, because we're scared that someone's going to harass us,
yeah.
I guess you should say. But it's just, I feel like a norm that we need to change that. That shouldn't be something that that just
I
shouldn't
mean,
be.
I think it's just really bad. It's become a norm when they make like pepper sprays in pink colors. Like,
Yeah.
bro, my mom,
Like cute little
when I
keychains.
first got my license, she wasn't like, "Oh, let's get you like a new steering wheel cover or something." Like, she was like, "Okay, we're going to get pepper spray." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, I totally relate to that. Like for me, having a twin brother, we both got our licenses around the same time. And I remember like his present to go with it was like a keychain or something. And mine was a gift and it was a box and it was full of pepper spray and a bunch of other safety stuff for the car. And I was like, this is, and it was all pink, of course. And that's when I was like, okay, this is more than just driving. This is about safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I don't see, it's like notorious for people to get like kidnapped and stuff in grocery store parking lots of all
I was
places.
about to
But
say that.
I go to the grocery store all the time by myself, and it's like even in daytime, like I'll be like looking underneath my car while I'm walking to my car, seeing if there's
Yeah.
any sketchy parking.
My back seat.
Yeah, seeing if anybody's in the cars next to mine. Like
Yeah,
just trying to make
when
sure.
when I'm walking to my car to like go out from Walmart or something, I have my key ready in my hand. I'm ready unlocking that button already.
And that's
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
like
I feel like we all have like a mental checklist when we're like getting out
I
of the store. We're like, okay, now we have our keys, now we have this, we're looking around, and we have like a whole
Great.
checklist that no one even thinks about.
You gotta
and the
look
thing is that
aware.
like I hate to like just look at anybody and assume that they're going to like approach me or like, I hate to be one that assumes because, we what happens when we assume, like, you never know. But the thing is though, we have to be prepared for anything because it's just weird how we've gotten to a time in life where we have to prep our kids. We have to tell our girls, oh yeah, be careful, like carry pepper spray, carry this. Like, no, we shouldn't have to do that. Teach your boys not to harass people. Like, we
Literally.
shouldn't be
Like
teaching girls to be scared, to be prepped by themselves. We should teach people to be respectful of each other.
literally. I don't the whole like watch out for people, and it's like if we would have started at the beginning for guys to not do this to girls, like maybe like we wouldn't have the issue that we have today. And it's like talking about in grocery store parking lots, I love to go to Walmart. And so going to Walmart by myself is so scary. So like I always park next to one of those light things in case it gets dark. So the light will be there. I always look for those like 911 button things. Like I always make sure the cars around me don't look sketchy. There's no one in them. Like I think so much about this stuff. But it's like I'm just going to Walmart.
Yeah.
Going back to the assuming thing about people, I feel like that kind of also correlates with the not all men thing. Like when you're talking about rape and men are like, oh, but not all men. It's like,
Oh
well,
my
we
gosh,
don't
yes.
know.
Or
Like we have to assume because we're not sure. We don't know.
they'll bring up that they're like, well, men get raped too. And I'm like, yes, they do. And I said, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a serious issue. And I said, however, I think it's funny that the only reason a lot, because like I'll have conversations with guy friends a lot, and they'll, for some reason, they think I'm going to rape you as a joke. I don't understand why rape is a joke at all. And then I try to explain it to them how it's not a joke. But then all of a sudden they're like, well, men get raped too. And I'm like, I think it's funny. The only way or reason you'll bring this up is when we're talking about women getting raped. I said, I feel like you don't even care about those instances where men get raped. You're just bringing it up as an excuse to be like, well, men do it too. Men have this issue too. And I'm like, I think it's sad that your toxic masculinity is the reason why a lot of men stay silent in those situations. We should be supporting each other. We should be there comforting each other and like, helping everybody and teaching people not to rape other than just being like, well, not all men and men get raped too kind of thing.
Yeah. And with that, it's like, why aren't you like, okay, if everyone's getting raped, like why aren't you upset about this? Like you're like, oh, women get raped too. Yes, it's bad. Like women and men get raped. Rape is bad. Like, dude, push past that whole like, oh, blah, 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 like rape is bad.
I don't know if y'all seen that TikTok, but it's this guy, Calvin Brandel or something. I love him, but he made this TikTok and he was talking about why rape is a men's issue, and it was like 90 something percent of rape against women is by men, and then it said 98% of rape against men is by men. It's a men's issue for sure.
Yes.
And another thing is like men bringing up the whole like, well, women lie about rape all the time. You're more likely to be raped than to be falsely accused of rape as a man.
Yeah.
Just saying, like 2 to 10% of all rape allegations are false.
That's crazy.
That is nothing. And most girls don't even come forward. So it's a much smaller percentage of all
And
rapes that ever
that's
happened.
really funny that you brought that up because like that's so interesting to me. And I remember I had a conversation with my male coworker the other day, and he was talking about how his mom, like he said something that how his mom warned him. He was like, you got to be careful when you're working with girls because you don't want to do anything that might seem a little off to them, and then they all of a sudden ruin your career and they like get you fired or something because of something they say to their boss. And I'm like, I feel like that's the wrong mindset to have. I was like, you shouldn't be saying anything that's inappropriate anyways that's going to make you get fired.
Yeah.
I was like, if you're just being you, like you're good, buddy. But like I think it's weird that the fact that like parents are like, you gotta be careful what you say, or like a woman's gonna ruin your career because they're going to falsely accuse you for something. And
Don't
I'm
say
like,
anything that would make me think that.
But
So
like most of the time, like guys don't even get backlash when girls speak up about something like that. So like I don't know why they're so worried about, oh my gosh, gonna ruin your career. Like the president has so many rape allegations and nothing has happened to him.
yeah.
Like,
oh,
nothing. And I do want to say something. Most men that do like get backlash, like they actually get consequences for rape or whatever, are usually black men because they're just trying to find an excuse to put them in jail. I know that's on a whole different topic, but most false rape allegations are only effective towards them anyways. But that's
And two, like the punishments are insanely like just nothing. I feel like people aren't getting enough time in jail. People aren't going to jail, and that's what freaks me out is because I'm like, I am so scared that one day someone's going to take advantage of me. Like, and no matter what instance it is, but like I'm really scared that like I'm scared to get raped, and like I feel like that's a fear for most women and a lot of people. Like I don't want that to happen to me, but like I'm reading a really good book right now, and but rape didn't even become like an issue of like spotlight, if that makes sense, till like maybe 2013 2012, like still fairly recently. And like she talked about how like the universities now have to put out there like what has happened on campus, like they're required to say what happened instead of like keeping it under wraps because it was such an issue. Like she was talking about all these pristine colleges like Harvard and all this stuff where there was like gang rapes happening, like fraternity houses, like just inviting girls to a fraternity party just to like rape them and stuff like that and videotape it. And how she interviewed a lot of girls, and they talked about like stuff that had happened to them, and how like a lot of the guys would reach out and be like, so like can you like keep this under wraps because you just don't want to ruin my life, do you? Like I have a college, I'm gonna get my college degree, you don't want to ruin that. And I'm like, it should ruin that. Like people should get punished a lot more than they do, not just expelled. They should be going to jail. They should be getting a lot
for a
more
long
than
period
what
of
they do.
time. Not
Yes.
just like a year. Like that's not doing anything.
or 3 months when you're supposed to have 6.
Yeah, like I don't know. Something that always bothered me is the phrase "boys will be boys,"
Ugh.
because all that is just prohibiting that behavior. Not prohibiting, inhibiting.
Yeah.
Like saying like I know. Okay, this goes back to like as a kid. Like it all starts as kids. When like a little boy is like mean to you, and they're like, oh, it's because he likes you. Like you can't put that mindset in their head because for the rest of their life they're gonna think, oh, if I push her, she's gonna think I like her.
And then they wonder why, like, guys always wonder, oh, nice guys always finish last, blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you mean? That's been, like, drilled into our head.
Yeah.
That they're mean to you because they like you.
Because they like us. So, like, he's, like rips my paper up, like, while I'm taking a test. I'm like, man, he got fat crush on me. Like, no, he does not.
He loved me.
And I feel like all of this has to start in guy groups, too. Like, I feel like boys need to educate themselves more on their actions and like all this deep-rooted misogyny. And I think what needs to happen too, like if you're a guy and your friend starts giving a woman unwanted attention, or anybody of the other gender unwanted attention, and catcalling them or something that is obviously like a form of harassment, you need to, instead of clapping him on the back and being like, haha, he's being funny, no, you need to smack him on the back of the head and tell him to stop. Like
that's wrong.
guys need to hold each other accountable too. Like you can't just be like, oh, haha, you're being funny. Like don't laugh along. Like the worst you're gonna do is your friend's gonna be mad at you. Like you need
if they're mad at you for something like that, then you don't need to be friends with them.
Yeah.
No.
Set them straight and move on.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Nice.
Is there anything else that anybody would like to add?
I don't know. Maddie, you were talking about something about like guys saying stuff to you at work. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or like whenever my male coworker would be like, "Did you break your nail? Don't break your nail," and that kind of stuff. Or are you talking about like inappropriate comments?
Well, I didn't know if you were talking about both the breaking in now or inappropriate comments because inappropriate comments at work are such a big thing and they'll like low key do it because I work with these two men. They're like both like 10 years older than me.
Oh,
I died. Hold on. Sorry, they're like play fighting in the hallway. Anyway, um, no, like the both of these men are like 10 years older than me, and they're always like, "Oh, I'm never dating a girl that's like not legally allowed to drink, whatever." They always say stuff like that. And if they're like catching an older man like flirting with me like a customer, they'll be like, "Oh, they're going to jail, blah blah blah." But then they'll ask me like really inappropriate questions. I don't know how explicit I can get on here, but they'll ask me like very inappropriate questions like, "Do you have sex with your boyfriend?" Like blah blah blah, like very inappropriate stuff. And I always tell them, "That's so weird. Do not ask me that. Don't ask me stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's none of your business.
That's way out of line." I said, "You're like 10 years older than me. Even if you weren't that much older than me, like it's still weird." It's
yeah.
very
Like,
inappropriate to ask that
why would
question.
you need to know that information? How is this going to help you in your life at all?
That's what I asked him. I'm like, why would you want to know that? Like you're almost 30. Why do you need to know that? Like,
Like, I'm thankful enough to work with a really nice guy. He just doesn't understand that sometimes he says stuff, and I'm like, dude, you're making me feel bad about myself whenever you say things. But like, I've had customers say kind of sketchy things before, but obviously, like, I can't really say anything because like I'm not trying to, get in trouble or like, them trying to get me fired. But like we also have like, oh, I used to love closing, but now I hate it because now I've realized that we have regular like sketchy guys come by, and like it's weird because, and I don't want to assume anything, but like I'll be standing somewhere where I can see the window and my coworker is like handing their drinks out, and as she turns and walks away, he like blatantly checks out her ass and stuff like that, and he comes by all the time and just says really weird comments, and it's weird. And like we used to have a guy that would get a drink and then sit out in our parking lot for about an hour or two, and like we would close and he's still there and stuff like that. I don't know, like just dealing with just customers that are, I don't know, it's weird because I don't know how to handle it.
yeah, I don't either. Like there was this one time, it was like maybe a month ago, I guess. I think I told Austin about this. But I had this guy, like I took his order or whatever, and then I went to make his order, and I had to like reach up pretty high to like grab something I needed to make his order, right? I don't want to like, give away where I work, but anyway, um I turned around after I grabbed it, and he was like way up against this wall, right? And he had his phone like very down, like very low, and then he was like taking a picture. Like I caught him taking a picture of my butt, and as soon as I turned around, he was like, "Oh," like so disgusting. That's why I'm glad I'm switching jobs because the place that I'm about to work is like mainly women go there, so I don't know.
Yes,
But the customer service or like working with the public is so scary too.
it is. Even like the place that I work, the only people that work there are girls. So like, thankful for that. But like customers, it's like an older group that comes in, so it's like they'll kind of sometimes they'll make like comments to me that I'm kind of like, okay, or they'll like try to get real close to me, and I'm like, this makes me feel very uncomfortable. And then taking the trash out is like behind the place, and like the dumpster is like right there. But there's always people that hang out back there and smoke, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But like, I'm so afraid they're gonna approach me, and it's like
Yeah.
they're just people. But I don't know what I would do because I'm too far to go back inside. I get so scared. But we're not allowed
That's
to trash out at night, so
Oh yeah, we're not allowed to either anymore. We're not allowed to park in the back anymore. And I used to be like, that's
same
so
thing.
dumb. Like, I want to take trash out. Like, I want to park in the back. Like, I don't want to have to walk all the way in the parking lot. But then I realized, I'm like, oh wait, no, that's actually kind of sketchy
People
because
can,
I
yeah,
think
people can see you.
I thought it was dumb whenever I was working with my guy coworker because like he's like really tall, and like no one's gonna try to kidnap him. Like no one's gonna try to mess with him. So like I was fine parking in the back when I was working with him, but now I'm a shift leader and like I'm closing with other girls and stuff like that. And so now it's me and my girls like walking out together. I'm like, did you unlock your car? And they're like, yeah. I was like, okay, like be safe. Like, and I watch them walk. I don't leave until they leave, kind of thing. And it's weird having to like work with people, not only work like deal with Karens, but deal with creepy old men comments. Like,
For real.
Yeah, no, I'm a manager where I work, and so I'm usually one of the last ones because I have to close everything, like I have to count the registers and everything. And like I've stayed up there a couple times by myself, but my boss doesn't want me staying up there by myself, which I completely understand. But she gets one of the older men that make the weird comments to me to stay with me. So it's like it's just us two, so that's it's still not helping.
Yeah, this doesn't make it any
It's
better.
scary.
My
Yeah.
friend, she was talking about how she wanted to be like a flight attendant one day, and like that was her dream to like travel. But she was like, but I'm worried about like the sketchy old men that always like hit on you in the planes and stuff. Like that's a huge thing that flight attendants have to deal with. It's just like even past that, when you're looking at like future careers, even you have to think about who you're going to be working with. So it's like you with your coworkers, it's like what else are they thinking about that we don't
Yeah.
know? And so it's
Yeah.
it's like a future problem too for us. Like we have to look ahead to avoid it.
And I feel like you guys getting on like this, like what you guys are talking about right now, I feel like it kind of segues directly into the next point, which is um like women having a fear of rejecting men or like declining advances from men in fear that it will cause a violent reaction. So if you guys have just anything you'd like to say about that.
oh, do I? um, it because again, like I was talking about, like this book I'm reading, they go into details like that. They have little sections in each chapter. Like the chapter's like a huge point, and then they have little like subsections and stuff. And like girls talked about that, how men are like, you don't understand how it feels to be rejected, and I'm like, yeah, I do, but you don't see me punching a drywall every time I'm rejected. And so there was this guy that was a little bit younger than me. I went to middle school with him and to high school with him, and he confessed feelings for me this one time. And I was just at a point in my life where I was like, I just want to focus on myself. I want to focus on grades. Like I really don't want to share. I don't know. I just don't want to have a romantic relationship with anybody. And also, I didn't like him. Like, I was very polite about it. And I was like, thank you so much for, telling me that, because I think it's important for you to get your emotions out there and your feelings. And I said, I know it takes guts. I said, however, like, this is how I feel. I'm not ready for a relationship. And so he was very understanding at first. But then another year rolled by, and he continued to be like, hey, like, I just want you to know, like, I still really like you. Like, I like you. And he like sent me this huge long text message with like deep feelings about me in it. But I'm like, the thing is though, like I only see this guy in school. He doesn't really know me for me. And so like I kind of I was like, you don't know me. Like for me, I said we can hang out more, but like I only see you as a friend. And so we went on a school trip together for one of my clubs that I was in, and we're all staying in this hotel, and he just kept ignoring me because I told him, I said, we're going to talk in person and just settle this. And so I finally got him alone, like in the hallway. I said, hey, let's talk. And like, mind you, this guy's like a lot taller than me, even though he was younger than me, like it's freaking tall. But I wasn't scared at all because I was like, I hate to say, but in my mind, he was just like a little kid because he was a lot younger than me. And he just wasn't really understanding what I was saying. And I was like, why can't you like understand that like, I appreciate you, but like I don't like you. He was, I just don't know why you don't like me. And I was like, okay, well, this is gonna get through his head. I know it sucks to say, but I was like, I just see you as a little brother. I said, you're my little brother. I said, that's weird. Dating you is like dating my little brother. And so then he visibly gets like really angry, and I can see his like face getting red. And I was like, you need to calm down. And he was like, I just don't understand. And like walks off and like slams his door. And so I get a text from the guys that he's staying with. He was like, what did you do? Like, he's so mad. Like he came in and like was throwing things. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, if every guy's going to act like this when I multiple times tell them I don't like them, like, how is it going to be when I get older? Like, how are they going to like physically hurt me and stuff? Because like growing up, well, I don't want to say growing up, but like My brother is not a very good person, and like I saw how he treated his girlfriend and stuff like that, and I think I was just around that so much that now that like all of my perceptions on like relationships and also like rejection and stuff like that, that's what I see. And so like I'm so nervous now every time anybody's like I have feelings for you, because I don't know how to handle it other than just either ignoring it, because I can't say no because I don't know how they're going to react.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like
Maddie, I've definitely been in a similar like situation as you where they just don't take rejection well, and to the point where I've had to like have people around me and text them when I know that he's around also just for fear of being alone with him. And I feel like it just plays such a negative effect on like how our future perceptions of relationships should be, because you're afraid to, oh, if we reject another person, is it going to end up in the same pattern that we saw in this one guy? And you just always have that in the back of your mind whenever someone's around you, and you want to be polite, but you also want to like make it clear like no is no. And it doesn't always get through, I feel.
I have this story relating to that. There was this one guy. I met him freshman year, I guess. I'm not gonna say any names. Austin, you'll probably be able to guess who I'm talking about. But I met him freshman year, and ever since I met him, he was like weirdly obsessed with me. Like, but I had told him multiple times, like from freshman year to junior year, like, I'm not interested in you. I do not see you anything more than a friend. Like, no. And I repeatedly told him that over like the course of 3 years, and we were like on and off friends. But like, anytime I would get close with someone else, like a guy, he would like freak out and like do something crazy to like manipulate me into not being friends with that person anymore, not being close with that person anymore. Like, he would just make up like crazy lies. Like, I had found like DMs where he would like DM people and be like, "Do you have any dirt on this person?" Like, yeah, and there was like a big scandal sophomore year, and I was close with this one guy, Austin. I was close with Austin, and he was just so mad about that for some reason, because he wanted to be close to me, I guess. I don't know. And he just created this whole big lie, and it just blew up in like so many people's faces. And it was just crazy. And then like junior year, when I started getting close with my boyfriend, um, he was just so angry about that he created so many lies. Like, it split up like me and a few people, because he decided to lie about a few things. Like, he was lying about my boyfriend, lying about me, and just because I did not want to be like anything more than friends with him. Like, he would like manipulate me so many times, like just get people to like not want to be friends with me like all the time. It was so insane. Like, and
This is
that was because I rejected him and wanted to be close with other people. It's so insane.
I've never like experienced like that like personally, but I've seen it through like one of my best friends, and they did date, and it was like, I don't know, but as soon as they stopped dating, like that's when it all went down, and it was like there's someone else, and it was like I'm gonna manipulate this person because they now tried to get close to some, but it like he wasn't good for her in the first place, so it's like why can't you see that? Like, why can't you be happy for them? Like, why do you have to go so far to like, I don't know.
I feel like that goes into another thing though. Like, my mom and I talk about this all the time. Like, men feel so entitled to you for some reason.
Yes.
I don't know why they feel so entitled to you though. Like, when they get rejected, why they get so mad. They'll be like, "Oh, so there's someone else." And it's like, "No." And they're like, "So you're just emotionally unavailable, or you are like so
Just
many
because I'm single
things are
doesn't mean you automatically get to be the one to touch
Yeah.
me and say things to me and stuff like that.
And it's like if I
yeah."
see you as you are around your friends or something, like that automatically may make me not like you. And so like maybe we should like think within ourselves. It's not me, it's you.
Yeah,
Like
no, like,
you reflected as a bad person to me, so I don't want to talk to you.
yeah. But like, when men say like, "Oh, there must be somebody else," it's like, no, I just don't want to date you. They're like, well, there has to be some other reason.
No,
No,
no, that's it. That's the end of
my
the
no
list.
is enough. I just
Period.
don't want to be with you. Like I
No
don't
should
know.
be enough. And
Yes.
a lot of people, I think it's people are like, oh, it's so overhyped now to say no means no, but it's not because obviously it's not screwing people's head enough that no means no. Like if someone tells me no, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't be like, why? Why? Give me an
Yeah.
explanation because you're prying into something that you shouldn't be prying into. It's none of your business. No
They
means
would have
no.
told you. Yeah.
So
I
like it's
Ooh, I
weird.
don't understand why they cannot take no though. Like anytime you tell like a guy no, not all guys, but you get what I'm saying. Like anytime you tell a guy no, they freak out. Like I don't know why. I
And I
don't.
think it's just like it should be said like as much courage as it takes you to ask a girl out, it's just as much courage for us to respond and say yes or no to you. Like
Yeah.
it's not a one-way thing.
Yes.
Especially if you say no, that takes a lot of courage. Like, because some girls, I know a lot of girls that say yes just because they're scared to say no. Like,
I'd say I'm already scared to like disappoint people in general, but then like when it comes to that, it's like I am scared to say no. I'm like okay maybe, and I'm just kind of like
Yes.
so passive with it, but like
Yeah.
really I'm so
I mean,
want to be
no.
like no, stop please.
yeah.
I have friends that tell me that I'm not hard enough. Like, I'll especially because I listen to my friends' guy problems all the times about their boyfriends and things. But then I'm like, well, like, this guy texted me and said he liked me. And like, automatically, when I get a text like that, like, I start shaking. And I don't know why. I think it's because I'm like, oh no, it's happening again. And then I'm like shaking and stuff like that. And then I'll be like, okay, well, I appreciate you as a person. And I really butter it up because I'm like, I have to let them down softly, but I mean, obviously that's not softly, soft enough that they need because then they freak out. Not everybody. I've had a couple of people, be really respectful towards my feelings and stuff like that. But I've experienced it enough to just be like, people don't react every time. Like, I just don't understand why you can't be respectful towards people. And it goes into like touching too. Like it doesn't always have to just be like, hey, you want to go out with me? Like if someone touches you in a way that you don't like and you kind of push them off, they act offended. Like I didn't ask you to touch me in the first place. Don't be touching me and don't act offended when I tell you no, kind of thing. I used to have this guy in one of my classes that would just be really touchy with me. And like, I love hugging people. I love giving people a hug. Like, I'm fine with that. But when it comes to like touching my waist, constantly trying to pick me up, like coming up behind me, laying your head on my shoulder, it gets to a point where I can't handle it. Then I'm like, oh no. And then he's like, what? Like, you don't want to hug, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I just don't want you touching me in that way. It's kind of weird. And, there was this one instance where he went to lay his head on my shoulder or something, but he laid it straight on my boob. And he just like snuggled up to me. I said, And so I pushed him off really hard. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like, you know what you're doing. I said, that's inappropriate. Don't do that. And he was like, I don't understand why you're so mad. And I just remember like that replays in my mind all the time. And so now like I'm just scared to get touched because I don't want people to react in that way to me. If I don't want a touch.
I hate being touched. Like if like friends it's okay, and like none of my friends are huge huggers, so like it's fine. But like if I don't know you, please don't come up and hug me or give me a high five, or like high five is fine, but like just any type, don't touch me because it makes me extremely uncomfortable. And then like it's the same as like if I say like, oh, I'll do this, I'm like, oh, I don't want to hug, and they're like, okay, like you're rude, and I'm like, no, it actually makes me extremely uncomfortable. Like I have family members that I won't let like hug me. Like my mom tries to hug me and I'm like, okay, thank you. Like it just makes me uncomfortable. Like you need to understand, like I don't need to give you a reason why. It just does.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to add?
I don't think so.
All right. So the next topic is double standards regarding sex. For instance, guys are often praised for having a high body count or having, a lot of different sexual partners. They're seeing that, like they're the man or that's impressive. Whereas a high body count for girls, they get called, degrading terms like slut or whore, things like that, and are often just given a stigma that's negative. An instance is the saying that a good key can open many locks, but a bad lock can be opened by many keys. So,
Austin, I think you
Awesome.
froze. Oh no. You froze. You're good now.
Yeah, you're
okay. All right.
okay.
Well, to repeat what I just said, the next topic is double standards regarding sex, where a high body count for guys is considered a good thing or an impressive thing, whereas girls are often degraded or called names like slut if they have a high body count. So,
Hmm. You put the lock and key analogy on there, and I absolutely hate this analogy. And there was a guy at my work the other day, actually, that was repeating this analogy, and I knew immediately where he was going. As soon as he mentioned a lock, I said, "No, don't even start that. Don't even finish your sentence. Don't." And he was like laughing. I'm like, "It's not funny. Like, don't even use that analogy. Like, it's not right in any way." If you don't know that analogy, it's um, a good key opens a lot of locks, and a bad lock um, can be opened by a lot of keys. Like basically, the women being the lock, men being the keys. Oh my gosh,
Ugh.
that analogy enraged. It makes me so mad.
I
But
do
it's
not like where you work. Jeez, I
yeah,
do
no,
not like
You
that.
got a new
Well, I
job.
have so many stories about where I work. Oh my gosh, I could write a book about this. I'm not even lying.
we'll dedicate a later episode to all Katie's
Just
work
Katie's
stories.
job.
Once I'm actually gone from there, like for good, I can talk about more stuff. God, oh my goodness.
but it's interesting you said that because to me, I feel like a lot of boys feel like they have to be that first key to unlock somebody. And it's weird to me why people look at either like virginity as, oh, like she doesn't have much experience, she doesn't go out much, or if she's not a virgin, like, oh god, like you said, Austin, like she must be a slut if she's been sleeping with a bunch of people. But the thing is, though, virginity is just a concept made up by men that think they're so important that they can change a person, who they are as a person, which is weird to me. And it's even more concerning that, like, you see a lot. I don't know. I'm not on straight TikTok. Never will I ever be on straight TikTok. But I see a lot of people reacting to those videos on that side of TikTok about guys dancing or something stupid to like women should not have a lot of body counts, like they shouldn't even have a body count, that kind of stuff. And it's concerning because a lot of their audience is like 12-year-old girls. You're still out there. If you have a big platform like that, which is stupid to me that like people are idolizing a tiny stick man dancing to a song saying we hate women, but like why do you have that big of a platform? But it's concerning that you are spreading that kind of message out there that it's okay for us boys to be sleeping around all the time, but if you're a girl, no, 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 you can only stay loyal to one person, you can only have like one number of your body count. I think that's the dumbest thing.
Yes.
Yeah, like I know a lot of men personally, makes me so mad, but they brag about like cheating on their partners, like past partners and stuff, and like, oh yeah, my body count's really high. And they were talking about like they went to a bar one time, and there was this woman that approached them, and I guess they were talking about body count. She was like, I bet my body count's higher than yours, and they were immediately just like, you go away. And it was like, why does it matter? And they all the
Um,
time talk about like, after they're talking about like, oh, I've cheated on my partner multiple times, blah blah, like at least once a month, and then they're turning around and they're saying, oh my gosh, she has a body count of more than three, and they're like, that's disgusting, that's trashy, like she's a skank, blah blah blah. It's like, what?
And I don't understand why we care about
You have a body count of at least like 20 something, and then you're turning around saying, oh, three. That
oh, oh,
Like,
oh,
I don't know what it is. I guess it's because men think it like stretches out or something. Newsflash, it doesn't. It does not.
if girls
It
can
does
have
not matter how
babies,
many. How
Like,
many people you slept with, it's not gonna change. Period.
That was good. And I don't understand why we care about body count. And the only thing I would care, like, if you're in a really serious relationship, and I guess like if you both are worried about like STIs, that kind of stuff. But the fact that like I don't know, if you're someone came to me and was like, "What's your body count?" I automatically be like, "Just don't talk to me." That's so dumb. Like, and I know when one of my closest friends, you know, had her first time, she was automatically like, "Oh, I have a body count now." Like someone's, I was like, "You don't need to worry about that." I was like, honestly, if you're with someone that really respects you and cares about you, they don't care how many people you've been with. Like honestly, it's really none of their business. It's no one's business. And I think we a lot of guys just put it out there just to, you know, it's like another form of, slut and stuff like that. Like why are we labeled the sluts when they're praised, for doing terrible things? I don't understand.
Or like the
Um,
new phrase right now is like she belongs to the streets or whatever. Do you know how many times I've heard like some dude say that, and I'm just kind of like, what for? Or I think in the context it was like somebody had a lot of guy friends. It's like, oh, she belongs to the streets. She doesn't. It's I hate
I
that
feel like
phrase
this
a
also
lot.
that also goes back
same.
to talking about like rejecting men, because a lot of times I'll see guys saying, "Oh, she belongs to the streets." I'm like, why would they say that about her? And it's because the girl just rejected them. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah, you're pretty until you say no. You're
yeah,
pretty and attractive until you say no, and then you're an ugly. Yeah, like I don't know how. Um, yeah, I don't know how.
It always turns from like, you're so beautiful and I love you so much and I would do anything for you, and then as soon as you say no, it's like, well, you're a whore anyway, like I hate you, like go die. And it's like,
So ugly.
so do you
No.
actually like me and are just mad that I said no, or do you actually think I'm ugly? Like, let's figure this out. Like, let's have a little conversation.
yeah. I feel like that also. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
I think what's another. I don't know. I keep trying to look into double standards because like I've been like reading up on them just to like educate myself more on how to like recognize them quicker and stuff like that. And so like correct me if I'm wrong. Like kind of like clothing almost. I feel like you know men like can be wearing like nothing and still be okay, but like if we show our shoulders, like
Ooh,
especially in
school
school,
dress
like
codes, man. I could
guys
talk all day
can
about
I
that.
don't in some schools guys are allowed to come in their muscle tops and they still don't get caught for sagging, but us wearing a top
That's
that
the
shows
one
our
thing.
shoulders automatically is wrong, and I don't understand that. And like there's this song that I love listening to, and like one of my favorite parts of that song is she's like, if you're a woman you're made to pleasure me, but out in public hide those shoulders underneath. And like that speaks to me every time because I'm like, that's right. Like, we're teaching boys like, oh, we can sexualize women, but we shouldn't be distracting the guys from learning. What about our distraction? You sending me to the principal's office to change my shirt is a distraction. I'm not having time to study and learn up on what you guys are teaching in class.
I could talk about school dress code all day. I tweeted like a couple weeks ago, and it was like, oh my gosh, I just lost what it said. It was like, I still feel uncomfortable if I wear like a tank top in public that someone is gonna be like, oh my gosh, her shoulders, but like just like it's not real, like that doesn't exist. But it's like I'm like, oh, I'm wearing a tank top, like, ooh, how scandalous, but it's a tank top, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what?
It's to the point like Nolan, like I'm always wearing like long sleeves, and he's like, Katie, it is okay for you to wear short sleeves. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. I guess it's just what I'm comfortable in now because it's like dress code, it's like been drilled into your brain. And it's like, oh my gosh, you can't show skin.
Long
And
sleeves is the safe route. It's like that's what we want to stick to
it's
avoid
like,
anything
what?
else.
I'm
I'm with
so
you on that one. I'm always, you
yeah.
know,
Mm.
And like even leggings too, because sometimes I'm over it now because I'm like, oh, I love leggings, but if I wore leggings to school I would make sure to wear a shirt that was like at least like right above my knees because I'm so scared of either getting dress coded or people looking at my butt or something like that. But like now like, in public, if I go out wearing leggings, I'm so self-conscious about it now because I'm like, I can't be showing off my body like this. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't be showing off my body like this? It's like always an internal battle in my head where I'm always like, I need to be dressing appropriately, but like, why is this
There's no dress
inappropriate in
code
the
of
first
life.
place?
There's no like
Yeah, and
outside dress code.
it extends like past school, like past that. Like for me, like going into like the business field, you're always taught like, oh, you want to wear like a certain color to like attract who, like if you're in advertising, to like attract to the person you're talking to. But then you also have to find the balance of, oh, but you want modesty when you're giving a presentation. And I'm like constantly going between those two things, trying to figure out like what is appropriate.
That's so funny because I was thinking about that the other day because I keep telling myself because I've decided to go kind of like a political science route. And like I always joke, I'm like, haha, like I could be a female president, haha, like president of the United States. And then I'm like, well, I'm like, am I gonna be having to dress in like knee-length skirts my entire life? Am I gonna have to be dressed like with skirts down to my ankles? Like, like you're saying, it's just where is dressed inappropriate, where is it not? Like I still try to figure that out.
I feel that. And so especially in knowing I want to go into business, I always think about like one, like the skirt thing. It's like if I dress a little like a skirt a little bit shorter, no one will take me seriously, which is stupid because it's like I still have the same mind. And two, it's like I want to work up a big business, but I'm going to be competing with all these guys that have their whole life been fed to them that they're just going to be like the hot shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss. And like be at the top level when I'm going to have to like fight and be taken seriously when they're already automatically taken seriously.
Yeah.
I think another thing with dress code is like, okay, somebody said something about sagging. Okay, all the time, like every day at school, like I would walk past this like group of boys and they're all sagging and the principals would yell at them to pull up their pants and they would give like attitude back to them, but that's all that would happen. Like they would just get a warning, and even if they were arguing with them about pulling up their pants, like we can literally see your underwear, but I'm getting dress coded and sent to the office because I have a hole in my jeans.
Yes.
Really like one
That's
hole
like barely above
my
my knee.
Like
my upper thigh is not that attractive. I'm so sorry.
Like you cannot see my underwear, and like that is my thigh. Like it's nowhere. Like it's not even like very high up either. Like
the cheerleaders, you can see up the cheerleaders' skirts, but then as soon as a normal person has a hole in their pants, oh no, we see your thigh. Like
and like sexualized for sure. That's
bra straps. That's underwear. Why is that such a big deal? Like this man, that's his butt. Like this is just a bra strap. Like duh, I wear bras. And if I came to school without one, someone would say something. So fight me. And if a guy teacher ever told me he could see my bra strap, I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna fire you because stop looking at me.
I can see your pedophilia showing. Like
literally. Why can't you just teach me? Oh,
and
you teach like government.
You teach government. And to a close, like another double standard too is like if you are dressing as a quote unquote, slut, people are gonna call you out for it. Like if you're wearing a shorter dress and stuff, you're automatically a whore. You're provoking rape. You are asking for it. But then if I'm dressing, more comfortably, in a way that I'm just gonna be lounging around in, no, you're a prude. Why don't you look more feminine? That kind of stuff. Like, I just feel like in society still today, like it's just like, how do you want us to dress, huh? How do you want us to? Because, one point I'm going to get raped and I'm going to get blamed for getting raped because I dressed in a dress to go to church in, or I'm, getting called, ugly and a prude and I don't look like a woman because I'm out wearing sweatpants at Walmart. Yeah, like, please tell me how to dress,
they don't want you dressing inappropriately per se unless they're permitting it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you think about like, okay, going back to like cheerleading uniforms and like volleyball uniforms, even like, they're okay with that stuff because it's like, oh, well, that's what they're supposed to be wearing. That's okay. Yeah. But it's like, as soon as a girl's wearing that in public, it's like, oh my God, like,
I don't know,
like something that's revealing like that. But
my parents always try to make the comment, like if a girl's wearing a short dress, they'll be like, oh my gosh, her dress is so short, I can't believe her mom let her wear that. And it's like, you're like, my little brother hearing that is saying to him like, oh my God, like that's what's starting all of this is like, they hear someone like of authority be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's wearing a dress that short. And it's like, So they're thinking, oh, girls shouldn't wear dresses that short. And then it just becomes this whole thing. It's like, so anytime my mom says it, I'm like, actually, I think she looks really nice. Like, you have no control over what she wears. Thank you. Goodbye.
Ooh.
Like, it's not your problem. It's not your kid. But like, I get my mom does it out of like love of like worried about. She gets worried of like, oh, her dress is short, like guys or whatever. But I'm like, listen, you see the issue in this, right? Like, you see where this is coming from. Like, you see why I'm upset.
And that's why I think it's so important for like, girls, to not call each other out too on, what each other are wearing. Like, because, there's been a couple times where I'll be with friends, and they'll make kind of comments like that and be like, oh, like that's kind of short. And like the thing is that like I used to too, like a couple years ago. Like I'm sure I used to make comments like that in my head, but now I'm like, no, you know what? She's a queen. She looks beautiful. Like I'm here to support you because you're wearing something that you're comfortable with and your body is beautiful and you love it. Like I'm here for you, girl. Like you go out there and work it. And like I think girls have to stick together on that, and I think boys need to learn that, shoulders are not as sexy as they think they are.
I don't get it. But yeah, I used to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's wearing that. But then I realized like, oh, I'm only saying that because that's what society says. Like, I don't have to think that because everyone else thinks that.
Yeah,
And so
I
like,
think every girl has had that phase where they're like very judgmental of what other girls are wearing. But like, I had somebody say to me, like, because I'm talking about like I was wearing a tank top and like sweatpants, and then they were like, "Oh, you need to change. Like, don't you want to put something over that?" I'm like, "No." Like, no.
Yeah, like
And
there's
then
so
they're
many
like,
things.
"Well, what if a girl was wearing like a really short dress and like cleavage was showing?" And I was like, "I would not care. I would not care." And they're like, "Well." It's like I don't care what they're wearing. It does not matter. That's not on my body. Why would I care?
Yeah, like there's so many things in the world dividing people right now, and it's like girls against girls cannot be one of them. Like we need to stop that.
Yes. Like if we can't stand up for each other, who's gonna stand up for us?
Yeah.
Like no one. It's us against the world.
And so I kind of want to bring up another double standard too, if that's okay. Like there's this one that like I think about a lot too, where it's like, when a boy kind of takes charge and becomes the leader, like, he has a great ability to lead a team, like he is the leader. But then like, when a girl is the one that suddenly becomes the leader and takes charge, like it's people automatically calling her bossy and pushy and stuff like that. And I don't understand why that's a thing. Why, like, we look at guys as leaders and girls just as bossy. And I feel like that's another like issue within double standards that, needs to be pointed out.
Absolutely. I've always been called bossy, like my whole life. Like she's just like so rude and so bossy. And it's like, one, I like to be in control. I like to have control. I like to be in charge. But it's like, you're right. Like they're like, she's so bossy. Like I'm like, no. Like if a guy was doing this, you'd just be like, you would follow him because you're like taught to follow him. But like for me, I don't know. Like in like group projects, if I was the one that wanted to take charge, the guy would be like, dang, you're just blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, like that's the only way the work's gonna get done, honestly.
I feel like that goes into how girls really can't win. Like us talking about like, oh, if your body count's 0, like you're a prude, but oh, if it's like more than a certain amount, then you're a slut, whatever. Or if it's more than one, you're a slut. I mean, it goes back to that because like okay, if you don't talk a lot, it's like, oh, you're so shy. Why don't you ever talk? Like, you're so quiet. Like, I used to get that all the time. But like girls that talk a lot, they'll be like, you talk so much. Like, do you ever shut up? Blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my gosh, you cannot win when you're a girl. Like, if you dress revealing, it's like, oh, you're a whore. But if you dress like, not even revealing that much, maybe your legs, it's like, oh my God.
I know, there's no way to win. Or it's you're too powerful.
There's
you don't. I don't know.
And that's also another double standard. I feel like because guys are always like, girls are so picky, blah blah blah. Why do girls want guys to be so tall? I don't care about height. Obviously, I am the same height as my boyfriend. But like, a lot of girls really don't care about height. Like they're just like, if you're over 6 foot, that's pretty nice. And guys are like, oh my God, like we can't control our height. But it's like, guys are like, oh, they have to have big boobs, a big butt, a really small waist, like they have to have like cute freckles in the right places and a cute nose and
be sweet and like but also kind of like
really long hair,
blonde hair, blue eye type thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then
And it's
they
like,
get so upset over height. And it's like we're only saying
you
that
know
the
what
one
else we're
thing is
dealing with?
nice. Like,
The height
hey,
is the least you can give us.
yeah,
Yeah,
like you're asking
people
for the bare minimum.
I feel like women's standards for men, and like, I mean, anybody who is attracted to men have to lower their standards, I feel like, because, you know, if they're too high, no one's going to match them because there's a lot of jerks out there that, you know, I don't know. It's just, I just want someone that's going to be nice to me and treat me well, you know. And thinking about that, I used to be like, oh, I feel like I have way too high of standards of men. And that's why I keep rejecting people, because I'm like, I just want someone that's going to like me for me, not care about my body, and just, you know, be a nice person overall. No,
And that's honestly, that's the bare
that's
minimum.
so low. That is the bare minimum. And I feel like us ladies and people out there that are attracted to men need to, you know, really raise those standards, raise those bars, because then boys are going to realize, oh man, we can't be stupid anymore. We can't be being jerks. Then they're going to have to start, you know, raising their bars for themselves and becoming better people because they realize that girls aren't going to put up with that.
Yeah, I feel like that also goes into like a lot of women tell other women this too. It's like, well, I think your standards are just too high. Like, you need to lower them and then you'll find somebody. Or like, you just need to settle, like, blah, blah, blah. Or like, maybe you just need to find someone a little bit more your league or something.
Literally.
Like, what?
Someone out there exists for you. Like,
Yeah.
and if they don't, that's okay. Like, you don't have to, like, like settling. You don't have to settle. You don't have to be in a relationship all the time. I've never been in a relationship, and it's honestly probably because like, I just don't like talking to other people. But, like I'll see. I was about to say my standards are too high, but whatever. We just had this whole conversation. But it's like, I look for a lot in a person, and like just by looking at you, I will know if this conversation is gonna work out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And also, can we talk about too, like, the standards of like how we just describe people, because is how it's like a whole circle. Like in Mr. Man's class, he'd be like, the full circle, ha ha ha. Whatever he would say, I always repeat that in my head whenever I find out something that's a full circle. But like, you know how we call girls emotional, but like we'll, you know, call guys weak if they show emotion, or, you know, they're a coward and they're scared, but like, you know, we're scared and frightened and stuff like that. You know, that's a problem too, is that, you know, we're allowed to be emotional, but guys are not allowed to be emotional. And I think that just goes into a full circle of toxic masculinity too, because that just causes a lot of the issues and other double standards that we have today as well. Like, people need to be like, boys can't cry. Boys can cry.
And they do, and it's like they can't be afraid to show it.
Like, why are we still telling guys not to be emotional and be the ones protecting women and stuff like that? Because, you know, maybe he wants to be protected. Maybe he wants to be the emotional one. You know, like, that's a thing. Yes. Like, boys don't always have to be these strong men and stuff like that. And that's what we're asking for either. Like, we want you to be you. And like, I think people just need to, I don't know. Like, why do we have to call them weak and stupid when they're just showing emotions and trying to, you know, get through to somebody?
And honest, and I like, and you're saying like it doesn't have to be the girl. It's like I'm not a very emotional person. Like, I cry like maybe twice a month. Twice every, I don't know. I forgot. Once every 2 months or something. Like, I don't cry or get upset about anything. And it's like, always seems like, oh wow, she's like so cold and like whatever. And I'm like, or like, you watch that movie and you didn't cry. And it's like, no, like, it's okay. Like, just because I'm a girl, I don't have to cry at that sad, sappy movie. Like, I didn't think it was sad. It was actually kind of funny.
I've never even seen The Notebook, and that's like a huge girl thing. Like,
I've
you have
seen
to
like
cry
half
where I was
of
like,
it.
I've never even seen it.
And I didn't cry, so it's not sad. Don't force your heteronormative conjunctions on me. Ugh.
That's why I love seeing a lot of guys on TikTok really break those norms, you know, and be more feminine, as people would put it in like quotation marks, more feminine, or really just, you know, show their emotions. And, you know, then they'll be labeled a simp, but whatever, because I don't know why that has become a whole thing where people are like, you're a simp if you're just trying to be nice to women, whatever. But I really love seeing it nowadays that a lot more people are actually, and just embracing the idea, or like embracing just normalities. Like people can be emotional, people can be more feminine when they're supposed to be masculine, that kind of stuff. Like I really feel like those words just need to be thrown out the window because every single person is
The
different.
window.
Boys shouldn't be boys, or boys should not have to always be like the ideal boy, and like girls should never have to be the ideal girl because there is no ideal. Everybody's your own person. Like what is the normal? And I just like how I keep seeing a lot more people break that these days, and it does give me a little hope for humanity, a little bit of hope.
I
But
do agree. And with that, it's the whole like, if a guy paints his nails or wears a skirt, like breaks all this toxic things, he's automatically gay. And it's like, no, no, because all you're saying is that he fits a stereotype in your head that you've created about gay people, and like, no one fits a mold. No one fits in a cookie cutter mold. So like, just because you think that, like, you can't assume.
because there's a couple times where like, and I know because like I know my parents mean well and stuff like that, and like I appreciate them for being who they are, but there'll be a couple times we'll be like in public, and there'll be a guy holding hands or something, obviously a couple, and then they'll be like, oh, like they just don't look like they would be gay, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? I was like, you have to understand by those kind of words that you're setting a perception in your head what gay people should act and be like. They're not always the gay best friend that you see in the movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like, and speaking of that too, I feel like there is that issue of how girls are so quick to defend gay boys and want to be friends with gay boys, but when it comes to people who are lesbians, no, I don't know, it's weird. I keep seeing it a lot. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but like I see people or girls are so quick to hop on and be friends or like protect gay boys more than they are, if a girl was gay, kind of thing. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? I don't know.
And it's also like representation in the media. It's like you were saying, like the gay best friend in movies and stuff, like Mean Girls, like they were taught to learn that, to love that character. But there was there's no, like, can you think of a teenage movie that has like some sort of representation of lesbians or something like that? It's like there's not one. So they were taught to learn to love the gay best friend, but not the like lesbian friend.
Yeah, the thing that you were saying about like the simp or whatever, I really hope that doesn't carry on because like to where other people like generations start learning that, because I mean literally they like some dude will do something so nice for a girl and they're like, oh, simp. I'm like, that was so nice.
No,
What
that
do
is
you
so
mean?
nice. And
That's not a
honestly,
simp,
sometimes
that's
it's the
being
bare minimum.
caring. Like, come on. So,
Yes.
I hate that. I hate simp too. To the streets and simp. Come on now.
Yes.
I hate that.
It could
And
be
then
a guy giving his girlfriend like flowers for her birthday or something, and they're like, "Oh, simp," and it's like,
No, that's actually like really nice.
like
I
that is
pray
being a
not
genuine
ever
person.
anyone. I pray like the future generations are like, oh, he's simping. Like if I hear my kids start using that word, like I'm just gonna.
We're gonna have to.
That's what
we're
I'm
gonna
saying.
have to
Like we were
move.
talking about how like, oh, maybe our generation's kind of getting away from what our parents were saying, but then like the word simp comes on as a new trend, and it's like, come on, we were so close. We were so close.
Yes, the
Like,
bare
it's just
minimum
keep
is not
popping up.
simping.
No, I'm hoping simp just turns into like another like swag. Like
Yeah.
nobody uses it anymore. It's just
Dang,
like
he is. Yes, what a simp. We love him. He's simping.
ew.
The equivalent of queen.
So Maddie mentioned TikTok earlier and like things she has seen on there, and so this brings me to the final discussion point that a friend of mine sent me. She sent me a series of TikToks that she had found, and somebody was asking their women friends, "What age did you first start worrying about men taking advantage of you?" And
That's the truth.
before I turn the floor over, I want to be completely like honest. The ages that these women were saying in the TikToks horrified me because
God bless you, for real treat.
as a man, I never think about that, but that's just kind of been accepted as a way of life of women. And the ages that they were saying, it was just so heartbreaking. But now I'll let you guys answer that question.
I I don't think I really knew what taken advantage was, or like, I didn't really know exactly what all that meant because one time I was at the beach and I just remember walking behind my family, and I mean, like, I would bring it to Kenny, but I don't remember what age I was, but I was obviously like pretty young. Like I was like 12, 13 maybe, because I haven't been to the beach in a while, so obviously it was a little bit ago. But like the only thing I remember from the beach was I just remembered this group of guys passing me walking the other way, and I just remember them saying something to me that like made me blush. But like my dad turned around really quick and like got really mad, and I understand why he was acting that way, because I was like, no, like, wow, like these older guys like are saying stuff to me, and like I took that more as a compliment. I didn't realize that it was a bad thing. I didn't understand why my dad was acting that way. And then like, and then other time later in life I finally understood, like, oh, that was not okay to say to a little child.
Yeah.
Or
A
someone that
child.
was obviously younger than you. And like, then I learned out what the word rape was, because I remember I heard it over the radio, and so I asked my mom, I was like, what's rape? And she was like, and like I feel like that's a hard conversation to have with your kids, like especially at such a young age, to describe to them what can be done to you and what is an issue in these days. I don't know. It's just I didn't really realize what it was to be taken advantage of until it happened, and then I saw my parents' reaction to it, kind of thing. And like you're saying, Austin, I in the book I was reading, there's a lot of girls, and she said that every single girl that she interviewed had been at least sexually assaulted or harassed. 80% of them before the age 14, and that's too young. That is, or like, no one should be sexually assaulted or harassed, but like that's just crazy to me how it starts at such a young age. Like that's, I don't understand. I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't think there's like a certain age that girls, I don't know. I feel like a lot of girls, or at least me, don't really remember like a certain age where they like remember like just knowing a bunch of stuff like this. Like I feel like it definitely took a long time to learn as much as we do now about like rape and stuff like that, or like being taken advantage of. But like the first time I was catcalled was when I was in fifth grade. I was at the fair, the Wilson County Fair, and
Oh
I
my
was
god.
literally just wearing like a Justice spaghetti strap top and like Aeropostale jean shorts.
The
And
fit of the day.
I know. I was like, that was it.
That
like
was your fit.
hot. Like that was I mean, yeah, but like I was like 12, not even like 10, 11. I don't even know how old I was, but like fifth grade. And I was at the fair. Like it was hot. Obviously, I had a right to be wearing what I
I ain't wearing no
was
pants.
wearing.
Like,
Like, and being catcalled that young, like, oh
yeah.
my gosh. Um, but like, I feel like middle school is definitely where I learned a lot about that. Like, oh, you need to be like protecting yourself. Like, the men are scary.
I
But but
I
like
could
having more freedoms, like it's definitely a learning process, because like your mom's teaching you like, okay, well, you need to make sure you have your pepper spray and be careful, watch who's in your car, blah blah blah.
Like
And
I can't imagine explaining to a kid, a small child, why anybody would act in that way and why anybody would treat another human being in that kind of way. Like I just think that's crazy that we have to educate ourselves at such a young age to learn later on in life, like keep learning on how to protect ourselves, and how to, like, there's so many posts out there, how to respond to catcalling, how to protect yourself, like those self-defense videos, like, oh man, I watch those, because I mean, I don't know, because I used to think I don't know, it's just weird that we have to educate from such a young age about how to protect ourselves from people that shouldn't just even be doing this.
I remember the moment I did. Well, it's luckily I feel like mine came a little bit later than most. Like middle school, I went to a really small middle school, so like I wasn't too worried. Like we had a small group of people, wasn't really worried. Actually, kind of hit when I started high school because I wasn't like scared or anything. I just was more aware of what could happen. And I mean, I am a volleyball player, and we would walk into like away games in our spandex or whatever, and I would see like dudes from the other school kind of like checking us out and stuff. So it's like I wasn't scared. It's just more like I was more aware of like, oh, this is reality. Because like I went from a bubble of middle school, and now I was at this bigger high school, and I was like, all right, now I know. So I mean, that's just when I was fully aware of like every girl is having to be aware of their
Yeah.
surroundings.
Yeah, I think it definitely
Yeah, I
settled
think
in high school age because,
yeah,
like,
I think it just like snowballs. You know what I mean? Like you start off like younger and you get like tips and advice, and then as you get older, you start seeing it for yourself. Like for me, I think it was middle school and I was playing volleyball and I wore my spandex and I was like walking and I was like seventh grade maybe, and I got catcalled by a bunch of high schoolers, and that's when it like hit. But then as you grow, as like Maddie said, when you get older and then you get a car and then you have a whole nother set of like things you have to learn and worry about, and I don't think we ever stop learning or stop knowing. You just kind of, you don't have a point where you realize it maybe, but you have, like, as you get older it just kind of hits you harder, I think.
yeah,
And then
like
I think
high
it's just
school.
such a blur that like you don't know when someone's being genuine. Like some people are like, "Oh, you can't take a compliment. I can't compliment you," and you're just like, there's a difference
But is
between a compliment and like harassment. Being like, "Hey, that dress looks lovely on you. Thank you. I appreciate that." Or, "Hey, that dress makes your butt look big," or like your boobs stick out. You commenting on places of my body like that's a little weird because I just remember like freshman year, I was walking behind the school and like all the football players were like filing out of the gym, I guess for practice or something. But I was walking and that was like the only day I wore a dress. I don't wear dresses to school that much, and that was the only day I wore a dress my freshman year to school. And I remember them being like, "Hey, like you look good in that dress," and I just remember being like, "Thank you." Haha.
yeah.
And at first I was like, "Oh, they're being so genuine. That was nice." But then all his buddies were like laughing, like chuckling. And so I still to this day don't know if they were being genuine or just kind of commenting on a girl and thinking it's funny. You know what I mean? And like that's
And you don't always
a
know
weird line.
like intentions, like, oh yes, they're complimenting me and maybe they're being genuine, but do they think that by them complimenting me they're gonna get further somehow? Like, I have big boobs and I hate them and whatever, but there are certain tops that I can't control if they're out of. So like if you decide to make a comment on that, like I will fight you in the streets. So like it makes me so mad because like if a girl that doesn't have big boobs wears a bralette, like it's cute and it's classy and it's whatever. And it's like if I wear one, it's like it pushes my boobs together and like obviously I'm gonna have more cleavage and I can't help that. Like I'm not being provocative just because I have something more than someone else has. Like I can't control that. I'm not trying to be. This is just the shirt I wanted to wear.
Yeah, but going back to like the snowball effect thing, like obviously like the catcalling thing, like very young, very weird. But like in high school, I remember like a couple years ago, I went to the beach with a friend, right? And we were just walking around. I think we were at like Pier Park in Panama City or something like that. I don't remember, but it was just me and her walking around. And I remember there were like a huge group of guys, maybe our age, maybe a little bit older. I don't really know, but like at least 10, 12 of them. And like it was just me and her, and we were walking around Pier Park by ourselves. And like these guys just all of a sudden start following us. And that was terrifying. Like 10 to 12 of them. That is terrifying. And they were like catcalling us. And like one of the guys came up to us and like he was asking like what our names were, like for our phone numbers, how old we were. And we were like, I just looked at her. I was like, no,
No.
no. I
I
don't even
don't
know
know
how we
you.
got out of that. I don't know if we just walked away or what, but like, eventually they left us alone. But that was terrifying.
That just made my heart race listening to that. Like my
For
heart is
real.
racing. Just imagining men following me like that. And like it's weird too whenever it's like a lot older men, like really older men, and like sometimes I still use the excuse, I'm a minor. I'm a minor. Can't be talking like that. I'm a minor. Even though I'm not a minor anymore, like technically, but I still like sometimes that doesn't even work though. Like we should not have to use excuses as to why we don't want your attention. Like, and it goes back to rejecting too. Like if we were to say something back like, you know, screw off, something like that, then like automatically they get mad, like
Violent.
mad because, you know, we talked back kind of thing. And then it scares me even more because usually I just ignore it. But if you ignore it, they keep talking to you more. But if you talk back, like how are they going to react? So it's just like it's a very uncomfortable situation. overall, and I don't know, gives me anxiety.
I had a guy
Like,
follow me
it's
from
like you can't just say no. Like, why can't it just be no? Like, you have to come up with an excuse, like, oh, I have a boyfriend, or, oh, I'm very young. Like, and that doesn't even like phase them half the time. Like, you say you have a boyfriend, and they're like, okay, and he doesn't have to
It's
know.
because they're so used to cheating on people that they think you will too. But then it's like you get I don't know.
But it doesn't even matter. Like, if
No,
you're
it
not
doesn't.
chemical
No is
level,
no.
yeah. Mm.
And it's one thing to like make comments about something, but it's another to like touch someone. And thankfully, I don't think I've ever been like in a public place where like a guy or someone has come up to me and like physically, come on to me, and like, because I'm scared. Like I don't know what I would do in that moment, because like, I think adrenaline would like give me some strength to like,
Back
push
up,
someone
yeah.
off me, but also like I'm scared in the moment that I'm going to freeze and not know what to do. And like I've had a couple times before where like guys at school that I've been in class with, or like even outside of school, have accidentally, in quotation marks, have, brushed my butt, or like placed their hand on my butt. They're like, oh shoot, sorry. And I'm like, oh, like you couldn't have just accidentally cupped my butt, man. Like, it was there. Like, don't be touching me. Like, I'll call people out for that. But it's just, what appalls me too is that people at such young ages have been like physically harassed too. Like, you do not have any entitlement to be touching my body without my consent. Like, consent is still a thing. Like, don't be coming up to me, touching my waist, touching my butt. Like, that is so freaky, and I can't imagine having to, I don't know, deal with that.
I always make the comment like, "There's no reason that you need to touch my lower back to get around me." No. I hate when people do that. When people touch my lower back, it makes me so uncomfortable. Even like parents, friends, or like older adults that I'm like friends with will like try to like, I don't know, like be polite or whatever, and I'm like, I don't mess with that. No, thank you. And then
Yeah, I'm
they're
really
like,
weird about my
and I'm like, no, I know.
And like that's why
I'll
like
give
I
you a
keep seeing a
little
lot of
fist bump or
TikToks of
something.
a fist bump.
Like,
That's the only form of contact I'm gonna make with you, buddy. Like, I'll give you a hug, but I really don't
know
want you
you.
lingering around my waist and stuff like that. Like, I'll see TikToks of girls, like I guess what Austin was saying, like TikToks and stuff, girls talking about their experiences of like boys touching their waist to pass around them at a party and stuff like that. And then the more I think about it, and the more that I've been reading the book that I've been reading, and like hearing a lot of people and how they've experienced so much in college, I was so excited for college, and now I'm just kind of scared. Because in high school, I mean, like, I'm sure high school's worse, because I don't think high schools are like required to talk about a situation that happened there, like colleges are. But you live at college, or like most people will be living at college, so you're going to be around people a lot, and like obviously the people are a lot older, and there's like less control, I feel like, in college of how people are. And so like I just am a lot more nervous for college. And like my parents have been talking about giving pepper spray to me, but I told my mom, I said, like I leave for college soon, like I'm gonna need you to give me some pepper spray before I leave. And like that's just like, I don't know, I am a little scared, like I'm a little nervous. I feel like I shouldn't be, but it's a real thing that everybody has to constantly worry about.
I'm scared to live in a co-ed dorm. Like, so it's like by floor,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on the 4th floor, which I think is the top floor. And like that just scares me, because like just knowing that there's guys on the bottom floor that can easily just come up to my floor anytime they want, and like obviously they can't get in my room, and I think they have to scan in my floor, but like that door, like my friend that used to live there, like her door was always open, like the door to get to her floor was always open. And so like guys can just easily walk up to my floor or whatever, and it's like that makes I don't like that. Or like if I go to the laundry room, there could be guys in there, and it's like, or just anywhere in there. I don't know. It just makes me a little nervous.
Well, it seems that, is there anything that anybody else would like to add?
Get along, and I'm just kidding.
But he's like,
Moving on, man.
Well, in that case, I would like to thank all of you for coming on this podcast and sharing your experiences and your opinions. I just want you to know that I greatly appreciate all of you guys taking time out of your day to do this. And I really appreciate that you all feel comfortable enough to talk about these subjects.
And I appreciate you, Austin, because I feel like if it was just a girl doing this podcast, just talking to a bunch of other girls doing it, I feel like it really wouldn't mean as much as, a guy who is very understanding, and is giving us a platform. So I really appreciate you for
Thank you.
Yeah.
doing this with us. You're awesome.
Very much so.
Yes.
If you guys want to thank one person, it would be my sister because she is definitely the one that has
I love her so
molded
much.
me into this. Without her influence, I do not think I would be as progressive towards these issues as I would like to think I am. So,
Such a doll.